She arrived with tears in her eyes and darkness at her heels. In Ukalu, one woman's kindness became the doorway to a curse. Because sometimes evil doesn't knock. It whispers and waits to be invited in.
Please subscribe, like, and comment. Subscription is free.
Long ago, when the rivers still sang to the trees and the wind carried the secrets of the ancestors, there was a village called Ukalu. Situated between emerald hills that rose like sleeping giants and a river that twisted like a silver serpent through the valley, Ukalu was a place of rhythm and reverence. The villagers woke with the rooster's crow, tilled the land with their bare hands, and danced under the moon when the harvest was good. Among them lived a woman named Amara. Amara was not only gentle, she was good. Her laughter was the kind that healed the heart, and her hands, though calloused from work, gave with a softness that made children trust her and old women bless her. Amara was married to Obinna, a tall, broad-shouldered farmer whose strength was the envy of many. His skin gleamed like polished ebony in the sun, and his voice, deep, warm, and booming, could settle a crying child or stir a crowd to cheer. He loved Amara with a devotion that left women sighing and men in admiration. Together, they lived in a humble clay house with a thatched roof and a compound shaded by an ancient mango tree. They had no children yet, but their love was whole, a kind of fullness that made others believe the gods had favored them. Yet as the elders often say, the river that mirrors the sky may still have a crocodile beneath. It was during Harmattan, the dry season when the air was thick with dust and lips cracked from the cold wind, that the tale took its first turn. One evening, as Amara returned from the bush with firewood stacked high on her head, she noticed a strange figure beneath the twisted branches of the great Irako tree that stood just outside the village boundary. At first, she thought it was a wild animal or a spirit taking form, but as she drew closer, the figure stirred. It was a woman. She was slumped against the trunk, her wrapper torn, her feet dusty and swollen. Her eyes met Amara's, large, wet, and filled with the kind of sorrow that digs deep into the bones. "Please," the woman whispered, her voice hoarse. "I have lost my way. Robbers attacked me on the road. They took everything. I have nowhere to go." Her name, she said, was Amaka. She was beautiful, almost too beautiful. Her skin was the color of rich cocoa, unblemished despite her tale of hardship. Her features were carved like a goddess from the old stories. Eyes like smoldering coal, lips full and trembling, hair twisted into thick braids that cascaded down her back. Amara's heart, soft and open as a young yam, could not resist the plea in Amaka's voice. With a gentleness that surprised even herself, she reached out and said, Come with me, just for the night." And so the stranger entered her home. But one night became two. Two became a week. Then a full moon passed, and still Amaka remained. Each time Amara raised the matter of departure, Amaka would lower her eyes and speak in a tone that twisted sympathy from Amara's chest. "I'm waiting for my uncle to send word. I fell ill yesterday. Forgive me. There are rumors of robbers in the market road. It's not safe to travel yet." She made herself useful. She rose early, sweeping the compound before the cock crowed. She cooked meals that made even the flies hum with joy, and when Obinna returned from the farm, Amaka would serve him herself, her voice syrupy and eyes lowered in perfect humility. Amara noticed the shift, how Obinna now laughed at Amaka's jokes, how he lingered longer at the table when she was near, how he seemed distant, his kisses more duty than desire. But the spirits of the land had long been watching. One crisp morning, weeks before Amaka ever arrived, Amara had gone to fetch water from the stream with her clay pot. The road was quiet save for the chirping of birds and the rustle of palm leaves in the breeze. Along the way, she saw an elderly woman struggling up the slope with a heavy basket of firewood on her head. The woman's steps wobbled like plantain stalks in the wind. Without hesitation, Amara set her pot aside, ran to the woman, and gently took the basket from her. "Mama," she said, "let me help you." The woman looked at her with surprise. Few these days, she said, remembered how to show such respect to the aged. As they walked, the old woman asked Amara about her life, and Amara spoke gently of her home, her husband, her dreams. When they reached the woman's hut, she offered Amara water and kola nut. Then her eyes turned sharp and deep, as if the ancestors spoke through them. She lifted her hands over Amara's head and began to pray. "Child of light," she intoned, "you will walk through fire and not be burned. Your home shall shake, but it will not fall. No woman shall break what the spirits have sealed. Your kindness has planted seeds the wind cannot uproot." Amara bowed in gratitude, not knowing that those very prayers would stand like warriors around her when the storm came. In the present, the hens stopped laying. The goats cried through the night. Shadows moved where there should be none. Amara's dreams turned sour, visions of her husband walking into the forest, hand in hand with a faceless woman. In the market, gossip followed her like smoke. "That guest of yours, she's always sitting too close to your husband. He barely greeted you yesterday. Didn't you notice? Are you sure she's not casting a shadow over your home?" Still, Amara said nothing. She watched. She waited. But doubt grew like a thorn tree in her heart. One afternoon, driven by a force she did not understand, Amara began cleaning the hearth. As she lifted a loose stone, she found a small calabash tucked underneath. It was bound in red string and sealed with melted black wax. Heart-thudding, she opened it. Inside were strands of hair, Obina's beard. She recognized it at once. There was also a fingernail, a chicken's foot, and ashes that smelt like burnt herbs. Amara stumbled back, the room spinning. Her hands trembled as she clutched the cursed object. That night, after Obina had fallen asleep, she walked in the dark to the edge of the village, to the hut of Elder Ngozi. The elder woman was feared and respected. She spoke to spirits and healed the soul with words wrapped in ancient power. Elder Ngozi examined the calabash, sniffed its contents, and narrowed her eyes. "This is spirit child magic. She was not sent by man. She came from the other side." "But why?" Amara asked, voice cracking. "Why my home? Why my husband?" The elder's voice was heavy with knowing. "She came to take what you love. She feeds on envy. She walks like a woman, but her heart is hollow. A thing like that does not leave until it gets what it came for." Weeks before Amaka ever arrived, what Amara didn't know, what no one in Yukulu knew, was that Amaka was not as lost as she claimed. Far from Umans, in the village of Otukpo, Amaka lived a life shrouded in bitterness. She was the daughter of a woman cast out by her husband's family, blamed for barrenness and driven to madness. Amaka grew up watching her mother scream curses at the walls and beg the market women for food. She was mocked, scorned, left to fend for herself like a wild weed growing in the cracks of life. As a young girl, she would sneak to the village square to watch weddings and name ceremonies. She would stare not at the gowns or the food, but at the women who were loved, who were chosen. She vowed that one day, she would steal such love for herself, no matter how. When she turned 13, Amaka discovered her power, not in healing but in taking. The elder who had mocked her once fell ill and died after she left herbs on his doorstep. The girl who teased her woke one morning with her tongue swollen and her legs stiff as yam sticks. Amaka smiled but never admitted anything. Her hunger grew, not for food or kindness, but for belonging, for beauty, for love. But love never came, so she learned to take it. She trained under a woman they called Neka the Night One, a recluse who lived in a hut woven from reeds and bones. Neka taught her the art of glamour, the seduction of silence, the way to twist the heart of a man like a gourd vine. She had once been promised to a man named Ikena, who broke her heart and left her for a merchant's daughter. That betrayal twisted something inside her. When she turned 23, she changed her name, burned her old clothes, and traveled far away, learning to mimic accents, gestures, and smiles that earned sympathy. She practiced her tears, her innocent stories, her helpless tone. She listened to tales of lonely homes and planted herself like poison in them. Amara's home was not her first, just her most ambitious. Amaka had heard of Umans, of the couple who seemed perfect. Amara's name had drifted to her through traders, market gossip, and a woman who once visited and spoke of the gentle Obina. Her heart twisted with envy. She waited, watched, and when the rainy season came, so did she, with a torn dress and a well-rehearsed tale. And so, Amaka had come not as a victim, but as a thief cloaked in pity. In the present, Elder Ngozi gave her a mirror, round and polished, made from river stone and smeared with sacred chalk. Hang this behind your door. Say nothing. Watch everything. That night, Amara did as told. She hung the mirror behind the door, said the words under her breath, and feigned sleep. In the deep of night, Amaka rose. Her movements were too smooth. Her feet did not make a sound. She glided toward the bedroom. Her hands moved in a strange dance, fingers tracing sigils in the air. Obinna tossed in his sleep, sweat breaking on his brow. She bent over him, whispering in a voice not her own. Then she turned toward the mirror. The mirror hissed like oil on fire. It shimmered. The image that appeared was not Amaka, but a dark creature with eyes like hollow gourds, lips twisted into a grin, and skin as pale as grave dust. Smoke curled from her tongue. Her face was Amaka's, but warped, like a mask melting in fire. Amara screamed. Amaka turned with fury, her illusion shattering. You shouldn't have looked, she snarled. He was mine before your first cry. Obinna woke with a gasp, confusion in his eyes. Amara stood between them, holding the mirror high, chanting the words Elder Ngozi taught her. The room grew hot. The air thickened. Amaka's form flickered. Beauty turned to horror, softness to shadow. She lunged forward, but the mirror caught her. There was a crack like thunder. She vanished, leaving behind only a single red feather that floated to the ground and sizzled into ash. Obinna collapsed, weak and dazed. He remembered little, only dreams of a woman calling him into the forest, her voice as sweet as honey and sharp as a blade. Elder Ngozi came the next morning with herbs and chants. Slowly, he returned to himself. The villagers never saw Amaka again. Some believed she was a wandering spirit. Others whispered that Amara had lost her mind, that jealousy had eaten her heart. But the wise ones, the old ones who remembered the songs of the earth, knew better. They say that even now, in the hush of night, if you listen closely, you may hear the echo of Amaka's voice calling from the trees. Moral of the story: kindness is noble, but the door to your home should not be a gate to your destruction. Even a snake can smile before it bites. And if ever you find a stranger too beautiful, too helpful, too perfect, look twice. For the spirits, they say, often wear the skin of need to enter the homes of the unsuspecting.